I'm from Port Francis, Ontario area, Rainy River First Nations, and I'm Karen Chaboyer. I really had a good upbringing up until the age of 6 when I went to residential school. I always wanted to be with my older siblings. I knew they went to school, but I didn't know what school was. And then when I went, I was excited to go with them, to be finally in with them, but I didn't know what I was in for. Because we lived in the bush and that, I was so used to being isolated, I didn't know what going uptown really was. And I seen this big school, and then I was separated from my family, separated from my brothers because they were on the boys' side, and then separated from my older sister who was 8 years older than me, and she was on the big girl side. So I was all alone for the first 2 years, all by myself. And it was really, really hard. I'd get in trouble when I'd see my brothers or my brothers in the dining hall. I'd see them from a distance, and I sometimes want to get their attention, and I'd yell their name or wave at them, and I'd get heck. And the same thing outside was that we had a big white fence, and I would see them on the other side of the fence, and there would be knotholes in the fence, and I'd be yelling their name, and I'd get heck from the nuns there. And another thing that really bothered me was learning about the religion and knowing that I was going to hell just being Native and trying to be a good person and always failing. That was really hard. And I just was never good enough, and I tried at school. So I found out, like, all these, my parents didn't teach us the language, even though they spoke it fluently, and I didn't know why, and I never asked why. The only thing I can think of today is they were trying to protect us because they seen so many that didn't know one word of English get beat. One of the things that I struggled with was living under tension all the time, like walking on eggshells, because I'd be so, from being scared, from seeing others get beat, and I tried so hard to be good. I had this best friend, and I never knew why we quit talking to each other. And I knew I chummed around with her and everything. So I got up enough nerve. I didn't know what it was. I just said, how come we quit talking to each other in residential school? And she says, you don't remember? And I said, no. And she said, we weren't allowed to have friends, so they separated us. So I told her that I'd talk to her next time I see her, but I never did yet, But they took me from my family. They took me from my friends. I couldn't have a best friend. And today I still don't have a best friend. I have friends, but not a best friend. And it seems like it's still there, happening today. I can't get close to anybody. If something happens, and if I do have a best friend, it's distant. One of the things that I really struggled with all this time is shame. Shame of who I am, loss of identity. I didn't know who I was when I got out of there. I was ashamed of being a Native, and even bringing up my children, I would tell them we have to keep the yard clean, have the lawn mowed, raked and everything, because they're going to say these dirty old Indians live here. And meanwhile, they'd say it anyway. Yeah. I've been through a lot of healing since 1982. I've been to grief counseling, grief and trauma, everything. And there's a lot of stuff I found out about myself. I have no idea how I lived, and even living, it was just existing. Because I was so, I guess, traumatized. Yeah. I don't know how I did it. And then going through the grief and trauma, you start to feel and everything, and I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I parented. I don't know, I even foster parented. And when I had this little girl and this little boy, and they would go see their parents and come back, I had to, they'd be crying and everything, and I seen myself. This is me when I was in residential school, and I would have to love them. Well, I couldn't even love myself, you know. But that was a big healing experience. And then after they went back to their parents and that, my house was so empty. And I thought, this is how Mom and Dad must have felt when we went to residential school.